Hello developers. Welcome to ELX Pro. Here we always talk about a strategy, tips to learn Elixir faster, and especially to learn Elixir in 3 months. And my name is Gustavo, and today we're gonna be talking about everything that you need to study to learn Elixir in 3 months. I will give you my tips, things that I made in my career wrongly, tutorials that I watched and consumed articles without understanding other important things before to learn Elixir. So let's go ahead and start talking about the content and the material. So first, why you have this content, and especially why it's so important to you to understand what you have to study Elixir and those materials that I'm gonna explain to you. So first of all, I'm gonna share my screen and share a couple contents with you. This is I'm going to create this map with you because it's very important. I explain to you the context and everything that it's important to you to understand before. For example, if you want to learn live view, before learning live view, you need to understand a couple things before move forward to live view. So, and I will explain to you why. So, why this roadmap is so important? First, this roadmap is important because when I started studying in my career, one of the things that happened is that I started learning first Phoenix and creating web pages before understanding Elixir Core. And I had problems because I didn't know how to organize my study. For example, I didn't know how plug works, and I was creating pages. And because I didn't understand plugs, I got problems creating pages. Um, when I started creating pages as well, sometimes I faced difficulties to run commands like map, and I didn't understand the Elixir core first. That's why this material is important because you will understand everything that you need to learn before move forward to other topics. What is the most benefit of this video and understanding Elixir in 3 months? So, first, I will guide you in this video what you have to study, and also in the future. For example, if you are learning live view and you have problems to create communication between components, it's because you don't understand how a Gen server works. And also, when we are talking about components, basically when you have live view page, you have live view page is a wrapper of a Gen server, and components, it's like maps. If you don't understand it, it's gonna be a problem as well. That's why I'm going to explain to you a couple things. So, also, I would like to tell you why I got this conclusion. So, first of all, in the past, as I mentioned, I wanted to create Elixir pages. I want to, instead of using React, I wanted to use like um, Phoenix. But because I didn't understand a couple of things like deploy applications, because I didn't understand, also, I didn't understand live page, deploy applications, releases, and topics like Docker, especially. I faced difficulties understanding Elixir. When I started studying GraphQL, I didn't understand enough about REST APIs. So why I'm telling about the REST APIs and what is related to GraphQL? Because basically, GraphQL and Elixir things, it's like a wrapper of your context. If you think that context, if you create good context, You only need to create like wrappers between your contacts using Phoenix Live View, REST, Absinthe, and whatever that you need. So when I understood it, everything became so much straightforward for me. So that's why I'm explaining to you this. Let's start seeing, as I mentioned, how to study Elixir. So I usually think that we have core, frameworks, and I'm going to say uh, DevOps. I'm going to guide you for all of them. So when we talk about core, I like to say Elixir, good practices, and especially algorithms. When we talk about frameworks, we can talk about Phoenix, Live View, Acto. This is the most famous, but I'm going to include here GraphQL. But this is not like so much important. When we say DevOps, we can say pipe lines, CI or CD, vault, and also maybe I'm going to say Docker and Kubernetes. What I usually do if I have 3 months to learn Elixir. So the wrong way, I can tell you that if you start for Phoenix, which is when you want to, you will get result faster. But because you don't understand it, or you will face problems, as I mentioned, in the future. So let's go ahead and start talking about first core. Why you should start with the core before moving to frameworks. When we talk about Elixir, especially we can talk about enums, OTP, and I will give you more details, and functional language. When we talk about good practices, I'm going to say test, especially test-driven development. When I talk about algorithms, things that's changed a lot about Elixir. Because we have a functional language, we don't have memory. So in Java, you can create a for and allocate memory, reference to memories like JavaScript as well. And because of this, a lot of algorithms will be so much more different in Elixir. So for example, techniques that you can learn here. You can learn about sliding window. Another technique is hashing. One of them that I like a lot is to pointer. And I think when we talk about algorithms, of course, we have like stack, queue. But if you ask me what is the most important here, I'm going to say to you that the most important about algorithms is that hashing. So I'm going to say here, sliding window as well, because like data structures. So maybe we can have like data structures. Like this. We got some of them, but this techniques here, especially hashing, it's very important with Elixir because when you go to map, reduce, this is the most famous way to use Elixir. When you are using reduce, imagine that we have a reduce, and in your reduce, you will have like a way to create like algorithm that you need to iterate to a reduce, and inside your reduce, you need to iterate again. It can be a problem, so you can use the hashing as well. But when we're talking about Elixir, and as I mentioned, here I'm going to guide you. So the most important as well is you practice those techniques. So I recommend you to study here, like algorithms. This is something that I've been doing. Um, Study 15 minutes per day. Why? Because if you learn Elixir, or when, as I mentioned, study algorithms 15 minutes per day, you're going to force your brain to learn faster, which is awesome. And it will help you a lot. So to study 15 minutes per day, I would recommend to you the Elixir Sesame.io or Lead Code. I use HackerHank a lot, but one of the problems that I faced using the HackerHank is to compile Elixir code is a little bit difficult. That's why I'm saying to you this one, because it was one of the best that I saw to learn Elixir. So more things that I can guide you when we are talking about Elixir core. I mentioned the enums, which is the most things that you're gonna use. I mentioned the functional languages like collections, which means how you integrate, for example, with a list, map, keyword, list, tuple. Also, one of the things that makes Elixir so interesting to use is pattern matchings. It's awesome. So you have to learn that. And I think function, mix, and pipe operators will help you a lot. I know that we have, for example, uh, like keyword list, or not keyword list, I mean, but like date and time, comprehensions, documentations. But if you ask me what is the most important to learn here in Elixir, I would say to you, like, let me get rid of this, but collections, pattern matches, you're gonna learn this during the days or something. In nums, we have other things. So, for example, if I open a terminal here, no, and you execute the command num and dot, you will see reverse, find value, group by. So if you ask me about what is the most important to understand here, I would say to you one more: find, filter, and one of them that I like a lot is group by. When we talk about OTP, this is very interesting. When you search for Elixir OTP, basically, when you think about OTP, we think about process, but process it's not common. So when we use process, we are talking about spawn, send, and receive. Basically, when we use process, another thing that's important, Erlang. This is important because Erlang, if you check the definition about process and search about it, you will see basically process, as I mentioned. But OTP, it's like a group of labs using Erlang. So I will give you more details, but when you search about it, you will see it. But after learning process, this is the most important thing. You can go over to Gen server, ask. We have Gen state, but then Gen stage as well. But this is the most important here, Gen server, because we're gonna use the live view and other things. But also we have supervisors, dynamic supervisors, and actually we have partition supervisors. If you ask me about it, I highly recommend you to learn supervisors and dynamic supervisors, because when you are using live view uh, and normal Phoenix application, supervisors and dynamic supervisors is very important to understand. About enums, I think the most important is reduce and map. Gus, you are just telling me about Elixir. I want to see what should I do to learn the core of Elixir in 3 months. So I showed to you the enums, OTP, collections, pattern matchings. I could give you a lot of details about it. Good practice, I mentioned like test by default. It's so easy using Elixir. So in my Elixir course, you learn REST APIs and core Elixir only using test-driven development because it's so awesome. So I'm going to say to you to practice this a lot. But you mentioned about core, what should I do? I recommend you, my recommendation is, I mentioned to you that 50 minutes algorithms per day, but create an app to learn more. For example, like you want to create a system to handle with banking account, for example, when you're gonna create the user, the withdrawals, and all the things. This will help you to learn. For example, like banking system will help you to learn and practice the core here, like the nums, OTP. One of the things that I didn't mention is in collections, structs. It's very important. That is my recommendation to you to learn core of Elixir. After practicing core Elixir, I will recommend you to go now to frameworks. Why? If you don't know core very well, and especially if you go over to those frameworks, if you don't understand about the syntax of Elixir, you will face difficulties. Even though you are a software developer and you want to understand Phoenix. But my recommendation to you, why I created live view separated of Phoenix. One of the things that it's happening now, because we are using live view, we don't need to create basically 99% you will create live view pages. Don't waste your time. Maybe just understand a little bit, it's enough. Don't waste your time creating Phoenix pages, which is normal pages like using Phoenix. I don't recommend you to just understand how it works. But one of the things that I noticed is that if you go to Phoenix and learn creating REST APIs, this is more than enough for you to create Phoenix pages. When we talk about Phoenix, I'm going to say to you to understand plugs, endpoint, controller, and especially when you have like this, when we execute the command, let me just server.start, when you have a Phoenix application, you will see the supervisor tree, like this one. And if we search for self, as you can see, we have like our IX here, and we have our process, and one of our process is 107, which is our IX. But you will see that in our supervisor tree, that's why I recommended you to learn about supervisor and dynamic supervisor before learning Phoenix. You will see that you're going to create like an instance about Phoenix. Phoenix will create an instance about live view, and then you'll have the endpoints and a supervisor tree handling with your process. So right here, I'm going to say to you REST APIs, it's enough. Here, you are going to learn like, as I mentioned, controllers. You're going to learn about plugs, endpoints, and plugs. I like to think in other languages like Java or JavaScript. We have like middlewares. Very important. Also, when you understand about those concepts, for example, if you search for Phoenix framework, like this one, documentation, you will see controller, endpoints. This is more about the Phoenix pages and live view pages. You will understand as well, it's very important to understand about test. As I mentioned, one of the things that is amazing in Elixir is how easy it is to test Elixir applications. It's so straightforward creating Elixir and Phoenix tests. Also, when you understand it, I recommend you to understand and use a lot about context. Learn, for example, generate a context using the command mix phx gem json account name. You will see that it's going to create for you REST API, for example. It's going to create for you the context. It's going to create for you the actor as well. It's going to create a lot of things to you to learn. So I recommend you to study it, and don't move to architectures like clean hexagonal architecture or like onion architecture before understand it. Don't move to like clean code or something before understanding code context, because you will face problem in the future if you don't understand it. When I say context, I will say like the API. When I say API is a function to execute an operation. I say here ecto. You're gonna see more about the ecto. And when we talk about ecto, we need to talk about the four main components where we have the repo, where repo you will see like all to list data from um, from database. I'm going to say database because it's like 99%. We have the embeddable, but I'm not going to include that. Insert, update, delete. I'm going to say especially um, uh, I'm going to say like code, which is the most important. We have the schema, a way to translate data from the database to Elixir. I'm going to say as well change set, validate data before storing, sending to the database. One of the things that Elixir mentioned is about the query. Queries is more like count, like where, but not only for the forming components. One of the things that I would like to say is the migrations. It's awesome in Elixir, but don't study like if you don't understand SQL. I highly recommend you learn SQL first. Where should you study SQL? I'm going to say lead code. You can practice that, or like another place that I liked a lot is Hacker Hank and Code Signal. So actual, and we talked about the GraphQL, but I recommend you to learn two projects here. So first, project, create an API service. For example, ELX Pro, you're gonna learn how to book cars. You're gonna learn, for example, I highly recommend to learn authentication in this app. So you have many ways like Guardian, and also one of the things that I like to use here is Phoenix token. I love this one, so I'm gonna add like a heart here. Authentication, first project. First project, authentication, middlewares, for example, permissions to trigger specific API, because you're going to learn more about plugs. One of the things as well, it's like maybe something about relationship between data base. For example, in Elixir Pro, you will see a car that has specification, categories, and also when you see like reservation, you will see car and the user. It's kind of relationships is nice to understand when you can preload those informations, and create this project to learn more about Phoenix. So as I said, this is optional, but here in this project, for example, you're gonna learn as well actual. For example, on those entities, you will see like schemas, and you see like permissions. You'll see a lot of things. Uh, this is the first project. Let me see the second one. Let me just create one thing like learn. And there you go. Also, second project, I'm going to say projects. And here, the second project, I'm going to say live view. What you'll have to learn here, chain auth in this project, put it on practice, chain auth. I'm going to say to put on practice in this project, live view context. Also, I'm going to say to learn pages using live view page. Components. Live components. For example, in Elixir Pro component, it's going to be like a card or like a product HTML. Live component, I'm going to use like product HTML with behaviors like add product to the cart. Live page, for example, like you're gonna have like components, live components, and you will have the relationship, for example, with a process. How this process and this then server work, which is interesting. Also, not only pages, but real time using handle info and practice on this project, handle info, handle event here especially. This one, handle info, you can use Broadway and communication between page and component. Example, one of the examples that we have is in Elixir Pro is we have like a Kanban. In the Kanban, you have the order. And when the order is done, when you move the order to another layer, it will trigger a lot of events to move to another layer and notificate and create a notification to the user. This is something that you're gonna see. Handle events like add to cart. Also, it's really interesting. For example, you trigger the event like update gen server. Very useful example. We talked about the handle info, handle events. We can say handle params like filters or sort. I think it's enough. We talked about gen auth. Live view context is like understand like this command mix phx gen live maybe of products products name price integer description. I think it's enough. But understand how it works because you'll have material to learn about live view test. So you can test hooks, like asserts, and especially communication using a process. It's very important in this project. Let me see what else. Also, one of the things that's really nice to understand is how to create hooks. And right here, I'm going to say live session, for example, permissions like card. I'm going to say card, for example, in Elixir Pro, we're going to learn like if user exists, get the card from gen from ETS and show on the page. A good example. After learning, I gave you 3 projects to practice more about Elixir. I'm going to say that frameworks, I will give you the time box of 1 month and half. This project, I feel comfortable that I'm going to say that if you have 3 weeks, it's enough. Here I'm going to say that maybe 1 month and 1 week. Let's start talking about DevOps. So this is the most important for companies, but a nice to have, it's important as well. So when you go to a company that you know how to create like GitHub actions with Elixir, I'm going to say that if you spend like 1 day, it's enough because it's straightforward. Like pipeline CD with fly.io. In Elixir Pro, I thought that in 10 minutes, but if you spend like 4 hours learning, it's good. Cloud, you could choose AWS. I like AWS S3, and I like AWS like SAS and SQS. I'm not gonna give a lot of details about it, but I like GCP Kubernetes a lot. Docker, I'm going to say that it's like, this is a nice to have, but I'm going to say like, you can choose those technologies to integrate with Elixir. 5, maybe 3 weeks is enough. Docker, it's like, not only go, for example, you can go over here and say, build Docker images with Elixir. I'm not gonna say to just, let me check here. Deploy Elixir application. So when you go over here, you will see like introduction to deployments. And when you go over here, you will see that it provides for us like an image. So if you go over to releases, you'll see that you have the command, and if you go to the bottom, you will see like containers when you only need to execute this command and everything is going to be done. But understanding Docker if you need anything else, not only following this tutorial. I'm going to say like 5 weeks. In Kubernetes, like locally, and then move to a cloud. I like GCP, for example. And this is nice to have, but this it's very important you follow those recommendations, like creating an app first using the Elixir core, understanding. And one of the biggest mistakes that you can make is like creating a gen server with validations like withdrawal or something. All business rule and operations never and implementation never use that with like a gen server. That is my recommendations, like 3 weeks, 1 month, and 1 week. So you we can say that here you have 2 months and spending like 3 or 4 weeks learning more about cloud computing with Elixir. It's a nice to have. So it will take time, but it's going to be useful and guide you to study more about Elixir. I hope you enjoyed this class and these recommendations, because I've been working with Elixir for, let me just close this guy, and probably, I think I'm going to provide this in a Notion or something to you. But I've been learning Elixir for now 5 years. And the huge mistake that I made was jump the step to learn Elixir or Phoenix, Elixir core, and go to Phoenix. And I didn't understand about process, OTP, as I mentioned, and core of Elixir, and I faced a lot of difficulties. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial, this class. See you in the next one. Bye bye.